Hello and welcome to the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I am Agam Vakil. Let's take a look at the headlines. It's another subdued start to the trading day. The Nifty trades around 11,650. PC Jeweler and IGL are among the top F&O movers today as traders take fresh long positions. Infosys is the top loser on the Nifty after company reduced its margins guidance for FY20. TCF, on the other hand, is off to a high opening, but among the top Nifty gainers after the company's fourth quarter results. And Metropolis Healthcare has listed at a 9% premium to its issue price. The stock is listed at 960 rupees per share. Let's very quickly take a look at how the markets are doing at this point in time, and we aren't really seeing too much. Well, marginal cues positive, albeit, and we're looking at about a 39-point premium at this point in time for as far as the Nifty is concerned. But moving on to your Nifty banking futures, and that's where again you're looking at a little bit about 0.5% advance, but and holding on to 30,000 as far as the Nifty bank's concerned, and the premium of around 78 to 79 odd points. But moving on to your VIX, and that's where things are getting, well, more and more interesting, if I can call it that, considering another 5.5% increase in the VIX. It advances by another 1 point, now at 22.16. So we'll be watching out for this one, and on expected lines, considering we are looking at elections as well as earnings season, where the VIX is likely to remain at heady levels. But what about options, and how are they panning out at this point? Well, we are looking at a lot more writing around the lower level puts, considering, well, the Nifty is hanging around, well, where it is right now. It's seeing a little more writing around the 11,500 puts. And on the upper end, while there is some amount of traction around the 12,000 and 11,900 calls, not too much to speak for. But moving on to your other variables, let's talk about stocks which are actually buzzing and which are actually seeing an increase in open interest. So you have PC Jeweler, Infosys, Mahanagar Gas, all right at the top. PC Jeweler advancing 8%, Infosys on the other hand losing out. So shorts in Infosys, Mahanagar Gas, IGL also very well buzzing off late, and Tata Motors also moving from strength to strength, so some buying coming through there as well. And on the stocks which are seeing unwinding, well, there won't be too many, but Diwan Housing, of course, is one of them. It's in the F&O band, Ramco Cement, Vedanta, and LIC Housing Finance. We should be watching out for some of these names as we move into trade today. Do remember that PC Jeweler, of course, has also moved into the F&O band. So, well, that's something that we're going to keep an eye on. Well, before we get in our experts for the day, here's a reminder that if you have any queries regarding futures and options, you can call us on 022-454-04141, or of course write to us on Twitter, Facebook with the AskBQ hashtag. Among the stocks that we do intend to also focus in today's day of trade is, well, TCS and Infosys, of course, largely on account of earnings. Let's not forget Interglobe Aviation, where it stands to gain from, well, the problems and challenges that Jet faces. And of course, Tata Motors, which is currently now trading at 225. So we'll be addressing that one as well. On that note, let's get in our experts for the day. We have Navneet Daga of Securities joining us, and Abhijit Phatak of Definedge Solutions, who is also joining us on the show. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for taking the time out. Abhijit, I'm going to start with you. How are you viewing trade on the indices now, and what would you do?
Yeah, good morning, Agam. Nifty is still very much bullish, and as long as it is above 11,600 on the spot, with a very slightly wide stop loss of 11,550 on the spot, where it made a sort of double bottom, it is very much bullish, and I expected it to go towards the all-time high once again. And if that is crossed decisively, then I mean a close above the all-time high, it can even go to 12,000.
And the same for the Nifty Bank as well, Abhijit?
Yes, Bank Nifty is also bullish. It just needs a close above 30,200 on the futures. And if that is done, it can go up by another 500, 700 points.
Okay, Navneet, good morning to you too. How are you seeing trade here?
Hi, good morning. we've been saying that basically it's look likely that the markets are becoming much more healthy in terms of the kind of consolidation that we're seeing after that big run up in the last month or so. A lot of averages are getting adjusted, whereby the markets which was kind of an overbought and kind of an overheated, and it's getting in a consolidation. It's very healthy sign that the dips are getting bought into and some kind of an accumulation has been seen. So even I believe that somewhere into 11,600 on the lower side, unless that is not been taken out, it's giving me a good sign that it is the good accumulation is happening and the breakout should be largely on the upside. But however, for the current series, since it's going to be a truncated week and we are seeing elevated VIX levels, and to my understanding, the breakout for the series, it doesn't look like to me. I believe that this band will continue, whereby the upper resistance of somewhere near to 11,800 on the futures, and on the lower side 11,600 on the futures. That 200 points of trading band will continue. But however, I'm quite more bullish and inclined towards the way the banks are getting set up. To my understanding, that is picking a kind of a multiple support near to that 29,800 zone. To my understanding, that is a much lucrative trade to be in.
Now, Navneet has a short strangle, and before we can ask him on his strategy, let me also explain what it is. But a short strangle is when one sells an out-of-the-money call and an out-of-the-money put in anticipation of decrease in volatility, and the strategy becomes profitable when the volatility decreases, followed by contraction in option premiums. We have already addressed what's happening with the India Volatility Index, but that said, Navneet, why don't you take us through how you plan to employ this one?
Look, it's, as we say, basically the consolidation is what is happening currently at this point of time. But if you look at the option series, option chains, monthly options, you're getting at 30,500 has got a maximum open interest build up, and similarly on the downside, 29,500 on the lower side is having a maximum open interest build up. And also if you look at on the charts, we are facing a lot of support zone in that range of 29,700, 29,800 on the spot on Bank Nifty. Similarly, we are not able to find a breakout about that 30,400 zone. So it's a good trading band to play on, since it's going to be truncated weeks and higher walls. It's lucrative to sell options, those who can take that kind of a risk. So to my understanding, selling a short strangle would be a good strategy in such a kind of setup, whereby selling in 30,500 call options at the higher side. And simultaneously selling 29,800 puts with a combined spread of somewhere in the range of 340 to 350. I'll play for this entire trading band and then look for a theta decay as well as vega decay in this strategy. And my targets on this strategy would be around 100 points on the lower side if the spread narrows down to that level. However, since we are trading with a very high beta Bank Nifty, to my understanding, there are the chances that we might see, because of the results are also due for HDFC Bank, one should keep a very strict stop loss, and the levels are somewhere near to 410 to 420 odd points. That's where one should keep a strict stop loss. If the spreads widen towards that zone, one should look to exit in the strategy.
Okay, fair enough. That's well, your short strangle on a Bank Nifty. But let's talk about stocks too. Abhijit, coming back to you, what stocks are you betting on today?
Yeah, I have two longs. One is IGL on any dip near maybe 315, 316 with a stop loss below 308. I expect IGL to go towards 325, 330. And the second long is India Cement. It needs to cross 112, and once it crosses 112, it can be bought with a stop loss of 108, and it can go towards 118 or even 125 in the next one.
Not been able to take out that zone on the higher side, neither it's breaking below that level. So even if I sell, if I look at the options chain, the maximum pain point is standing at somewhere in the range of 400. So selling in Straddle at ICICI Bank at 400 strike price, giving it an inflow of almost 14 to 15 points is a decent trade, with a stop loss on the higher side of 21 as an outflow. And look for this entire band to be played out for the series, and looking for an expiry very much near to that 400 zone. That's where the maximum OI for both the call as put is placed at. So one can look to the strategy with a stop loss of 21 points as an outflow. The second stock is basically Tata Motor, which has been in the continuous uptrend, and it's seen a kind of a big long build up today. Also in today's sessions, it has seen some kind of a breakout about that 280 to 220 zone. So to my understanding, covered call strategy can be employed in this one, whereby going long on the futures for the current series at 225, and selling a simultaneously 235 odd call strike price with almost an inflow of 3.5 to 3.2. One need to keep a strict stop loss of today's low somewhere in the range of 218 and play for an upside target of 240 for the coming week.
Okay, it's interesting that well, Navneet has a covered call on Tata Motors. Again, to very quickly go through what a covered call is. Well, it is when you're actually expecting a marginal up move in a certain instrument or security, or for that matter the index. But what really happens in this case is that you go ahead and buy the security, and on the other hand you go and sell a call. That will actually help you hedge your positions in this case. But let's stick with Tata Motors and talk about what Abhijit can also tell us about Tata Motors. Now we've seen a very interesting move here, considering Tata Motors has actually moved from levels of about 175 or to currently at around 225, and this up move has happened very, very quickly. It's up another 12% added in the open interest and up 4% today. So something must have changed here drastically, that everyone is buying into this, and as we've already seen a positive view coming in from Navneet. But Abhijit, speaking of Tata Motors and staying with that, how would you address Tata Motors right now?
Yes, Tata Motors is a bit difficult to play on the futures and options because, like you said, it has already broken out and increased quite a lot in this expiry. But as long as it is closing above 210, 212, I expect Tata Motors to go towards 300 in the coming months, not this expiry. But it is still a buy on all dips, and right now I would look at 210, 208 as a stop loss and be long in it on every dip.
So, this is possibly not the place to enter Tata Motors. That's what Abhijit's opinion. But moving on to, a bunch of stocks that we want to address today. And of course, we're going to talk about Infosys and TCS because their earnings are here. And we've seen some sharp reactions too for both these companies. I'm going to start off with Infosys. What we're witnessing here is, some weakness. Of course, again, the correction is largely on account of its earnings coming through. To talk about some very basic technical indicators, it has gone back below its 50 DMA, and it's not only opened lower, but it's also trending not that great. So it's currently at a 730. Abhijit, if I can come back to you on Infosys, how would you address this?
Infosys has a support near 690, 700, and I would look at that closely. But right now it is in a no trade zone, and I would let it pass. But only if it shows some buying action near if it goes below 700, then only I will look at it. Right now it is in a no trade zone.
Navneet, taking the same question to you as well. Infosys, how would you play this one? And currently at 727, would you also want to avoid a trade right now?
Normally Infosys is the kind of a result trade. We have seen the walls have already collapsed, trading at almost 32 to 33 odd levels on the at the money options. It is already corrected to almost 25 odd. To my understanding, the larger move, whether it's been on the trading side, has already been played out. Now there are the chances that the kind of a breakdown that we have seen, it can drag towards the levels of somewhere near to that range of 705 to 700 to my understanding. But overall structure, if I look out, it's a kind of a trade whereby if you buy at a support level, it gives you a good merit to it would be a good trade to be in. And simultaneously on the high side is faced a lot of resistance in the range of 750 to 760 odd. To my understanding, that's where the exit areas are. So I'll wait patiently for the stock dip towards that level of 700 and look for being in the buy side, and with the stop loss on the lower side. The trend changes only if it started to close below the 700 mark. So to my understanding, unless that is not happening, it would be a kind of a buy on dip trade.
But it's another question when it comes to TCS at this time, considering it has seen some sort of a consolidation over the past few weeks. But I'm looking at the basics, and the charts suggest that there has been a little bit of a convergence, or for its crucial daily moving averages, more importantly, there's been a gradual climb for the stock over the past few months, since January in fact, in terms of higher lows. But currently at around 2064, with the event out of the way, how would our experts address TCS now? Well, Abhijit, let me take this one up with you then. What would you do with TCS? How would you trade this?
TCS is a buy on dip with a stop loss below 2010, and the breakout is above 2090. It just went there towards the, the morning high is just below that, and a confirmation will be on a close about 2090 cash. That will be the breakout, and I expect it to go at least 100 rupees above once it closes about 2090.
Okay, Navneet, the same question to you. Would you play TCS any differently, or would you have a similar view?
Look, Agam, I'll look for basically it has seen a multiple resistance in the range of somewhere in the range of 2080 odd. It is not broken out of that range. In fact, after a big gap up today, we are not seeing a kind of a follow-up move. To my understanding, the chances that we might surmise in that range of 2000 to 2100 is greater, higher in this series, and looking at a smaller number of days in the series. To my understanding, selling in options would still be a fruitful strategy in this. Largely the event has been done through the trading range has been in place. To my understanding, selling a 2100 call and selling a 2000 call puts, creating a short strangle with an inflow of almost 31 to 34, 32 points can be a good strategy with an upside stop loss of 2150 on the futures on TCS.
Okay, so we've addressed TCS, you've addressed Infosys as well as Tata Motors, and perhaps we can also take up a bunch of other stocks which we wanted to talk about. Interglobe Aviation is one that stands out for me. Now, in terms of, well, the news flow, of course, it's not to do with Interglobe Aviation, it's more to do with Jet Airways. Considering it has less than 10 planes now which are operational, there has been an initial interest from bidders for Jet Airways, but beyond that, we can't really say much about the interest coming through. And there is another lenders meet as far as Jet Airways is concerned today, that could perhaps, well, be meaningful in the course at which the Jet Airways can look forward to. On the other hand, we also have, well, some agitation from pilots, and they of course are looking at their various options that they have, considering the salaries have not been paid to pilots. Of course, these are the many challenges that Jet Airways faces, but in contrast, Interglobe Aviation, which has also recently began its international operations, stands to be a gainer here, and that's the reason why we're seeing, well, I would assume a little bit of an up move there, up 2% today, and there has been an increase in open interest, a considerable one of 13% in open interest today. So at around 1460, what would you do with Interglobe Aviation? Would you trade this one at all? Navneet, let me coming back to you. How would you address Interglobe Aviation? How would you trade it?
If you look at the chart pattern very carefully, it's giving you a signs that it has seen a good amount of up move from almost 1050 to almost 1450, and it is consolidating, and it's now threatening to break out again on the upside. It's kind of a flat breakout after a big consolidation. But I'll wait for a confirmation. If it started to close above 1460 consecutively a day or two, to my understanding, the stock is moving towards that entire all-time high out levels above the 1500 mark. So it has seen a big up move. The averages are now getting corrected from a overbought to a kind of a moderate one, and it's giving you a good space that the traders can still bet on the upside, and unless this closes below that 1400 mark, to my understanding that the trend would remain on the upside, and we might see a kind of a big surprise move on the upside above that 1500 1520 odd mark where the all-time high out levels is. So to my understanding, it's a good merit trade to be on the long side. Only the positional stop loss should be at 1400 levels.
Okay, so that's Interglobe Aviation, and well, you know, I just want to address the gas distribution companies, and Abhijit has already spoken about IGL, on which he has a long on. Abhijit, if you could also come on Mahanagar Gas, would you play this similarly as compared to IGL? Any plays here, any cues here, or would you want to avoid a trade right now?
Yeah, Mahanagar also is bullish as long as if one wants to buy it, the today's low is a bit far off, but as long as it is above today's low, even that is bullish, and I expect that also to perform as well as Indraprastha.
Okay. Okay, Navneet, we've been an hour into trade. Anything else that stands out for you? Anything except for the stocks that we've already discussed so far?
Largely, to my understanding, the banks are again showing a lot of strength, given the kind of weakness somewhat as visible on the likes of Infosys and all. So it's kind of in rotation trade is started to happen. So to my understanding, I look for some kind of select PSU banks as well, whereby which is seeing some kind of a moderation and giving me some signs of that stabilization is again started to come in. Given the kind of up move that we are seeing. So to my understanding, I look for the likes of Canara Bank. It is holding about that zone. To my understanding, it's a good chances that it can see again at the round of an up move towards the level of 300 mark. It is not breaking below the 280 odd level. So Canara Bank can be looked into for a trade with an upside target of 300 and stop loss of 280 on the futures level.
Okay, and Abhijit, the same question for you. Anything that stands out for you on your screens?
Enough in the morning is Hero MotoCorp, and if that gives a dip, that is a sure it is looking very bullish, and I expect it to go towards 2800 in this expiry. Hero MotoCorp right now it is 2690 futures, but any dip towards maybe 2650 it can be bought.
Okay, fair enough. We'll be watching out for those stocks too. And on that note, I'm going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Abhijit and Navneet, for joining us and taking us through their views. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the Futures and Options Show. But you can also check our website out, bloombergquint.com, where we have plenty of data for you on F&O. And that's a wrap on this edition. For more news and updates, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint, and we'll keep bringing you more.